Hello, you're watching New Vision TV News. I am Ruthina. So you're coming to you live from the New Vision newsroom. We start with the news around Uganda, where we look at stories making headlines across the country. Starting off the bulletin is a story from Lira district, where President Museveni commissioned Obote Road. The road was upgraded under government's Uganda support to municipal infrastructure development program with support from the World Bank. Let's take a look. President Museveni commissioned the road after addressing a rally in Abongorot Primary School in Abongorot Village, Angali Sub-County in Lira District. President Museveni said the National Resistance Movement Party believes that most of the projects in the manifesto will be completed. He promised to have roads like Rekunye, Apak, Lira and Acholiba constructed. He also noted that the major roads in the Lango area, that is from Soroti, Amuria, Obalanga, Akampi, all the way to Okute and Adwali, will be worked on.
We believe that one by one makes a bundle. Therefore, we don't try to do all things at the same time. It is not possible to do all things at the same time. We therefore start with the big ones and then end with the small ones. The Madon we did here was first of all to do Soroti, Dogoro, Lira, Camping Road. And we are going to do Welkunyo, Apach, Lira, Ogur, Achogur Road.
Lira Municipal Council in August 2017 signed a contract with Zhongqing International Company of 21.6 billion shillings for the construction of 3 roads in the municipality. The roads include Obote Avenue, 1.38 kilometers, Kwania Road, 0.85 kilometers, and Soroti Road, 0.533 kilometers. The contract also entails the beautification of Coronation Park. The projects are designed to enhance institutional performance in the municipal councils to improve service delivery. The Lands Minister, Betty Amongi, while addressing President Museveni to commission the road, said the central government has sent a total of 40.18 million shillings on the project that covers a number of roads in the area. Amongi said the project will also cover drainage, additional planning, rehabilitation of additional roads. 48.6 billion shillings will be given to Lira this financial year and 30 billion shillings to Apak municipality.
The road which you have just opened was done under your leadership and your strategic direction that you want all the towns to have roads. 198 billion shillings. This 40.19 billion shillings has been able to do a number of roads. The roads that the money you have directed has done in the municipality. Now
this report was compiled by Hudson Aponyo for New Vision TV. In Lango's sub-region, excitement accompanied with relations welcomed President Museveni in Lango sub-region on Friday. Now he was in Angali sub-county, a route to south in Lira district. President Museveni, also interim party chairperson, was welcomed by his supporters who were clad in yellow to show him support and appreciation for his work. Let's take a look. Excitement accompanied with ululations accompanied President Museveni in Lango on Friday in Agali sub-county, a route to South Lira district. President Museveni, also interim party chairman, was welcomed by his supporters who were clad in yellow to show support and appreciation to his work. Linda Wuma, the former Lira woman parliamentary candidate, also resident District Commission of Amuru and the vice chairperson of the National Women's League, say the people of Lira are assuring the president that the road to 2021 is very clear.
of Lao sub-region have brought another slogan that your lane means that your road is so clear. That's why you're seeing the brooms.
Even the youth said so, Your Excellency.
So everyone have joined and said that your road is so clear in Lao sub-region. We are willing and overwhelmingly will vote you come 2021. And they have assured me when we were discussing here that anyone trying to destabilize this country, even the mothers will leave the children and join you to fight and defend this country. If you could enter our hearts, you were not going to come back, Your Excellency. Because we love you and we love you and we will do everything to ensure that you remain our father forever. A good father will never leave. You are building this country, and a house that is being built cannot be handed over before it's fully built. And the person who built the house should sweep the house, make it clean, and hand it over. That's why we have chosen the broom. We'll never allow you to leave this country until you have finished sweeping and hand it over to the person that you feel can maintain the house. We are grateful for that. You are welcome. This is where I hail from, my maternal home. As you are aware, I grew up on my mother's side, and my mother comes from this very place. Yolen!
Sam Engora, the Northern Regional Interim Vice Chairperson, described the day as one that calls for a celebration. Different people got a photo moment with the president. The president joined a group of women who were singing songs of praise for him and also danced with them as some hugged and held him. A group of radiophone callers presented the president with a shield, spear and stool as they explained that the spear and the shield is to defend the country. The stool is his seat forever.
Politics should not be a barren woman. Politics must lead to children which include Lonyo, include Donglobo.
Politics,
what do you call barren?
Orang. Oranga.
You don't want police to be Oranga.
After addressing the people, President Museveni laid a foundation stone for Angali Seed Secondary School, which is near the venue.
In number, and you are secondary again. The one you made this morning, I told you, is that.
This report was compiled by Hudson Apunyo for New Vision TV. Let us take a look at more stories making headlines across the country. From Buyenda District, the Office of the Prime Minister, through the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, have delivered 980 bags and 320 bags of beans to 837 households that survived the cyclone. The deadly cyclone claimed 16 lives in Itamia, Nabweyo A, Nabweyo B, Kabugaho and Nakabembe villages in Kidera sub-county. Speedy spinning winds shattered 578 households, leaving over 2,000 people displaced. The consignment was handed over to the district technocrats and local leaders by the Commissioner for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Management, or Team Awori, on Friday. Moving on to Mityana District, President Museveni has asked Ugandans to put their trust in God if they are to live a better life. This was contained in his message read for him by the State Minister for Finance, David Bahati, at a ceremony where Central Uganda Diocese Bishop George Senabulya celebrated 60 years in March. The celebrations were held at St. Andrew's Cathedral in Mityana Diocese on Saturday. Museveni asked Senabulya to document his experiences by writing a book, which he said will help others learn from him. The president also offered 10 million shillings to the bishop as a gift. Closing off the news around Uganda is a story from Fort Portal town. The government, through the Amnesty Commission, has distributed starter packages for former members of the Allied Democratic Forces in Rwenzori region. Monsignor Thomas Kisembo, the Amnesty Commissioner, said on Friday while distributing the packages in Fort Portal that all the former rebels will benefit from the government program so as to enable them resettle in their communities. Some of the items given to the former rebels include mattresses, saucepans, seeds for planting, blankets and financial support of 260,000 shillings per family. Kisembo said that government is encouraging all the people who have been involved in rebellious activities to return and benefit from the amnesty program. That is it for the news around Uganda. Now let us take a look at the news around East Africa and around the world with Lynn Komjisha.
Hello, you're watching New Vision TV. This is news around East Africa. My name is Lynn Komjisha. We start off with the news coming in from Kenya. The Meteorological Department has warned that more heavy rains, which will be accompanied by strong offshore winds resulting in storm surge in the Indian Ocean, will hit the coast region. Fishermen, beachgoers and players in the marine sector have been asked to be on high alert. The County Director of Meteorological, Edward Mngure, said that flash floods might occur in low-lying areas, places with clogged drainage and those with unfilled and abandoned quarries. News coming in from Uganda. Police is investigating the cause of a boat accident where a boat capsized on Lake Albert, drowning over 50 people. They were moving from Fosso landing site to Olunga in Hoima for a football match. Over 32 people managed to swim while others were helped and they survived, according to the police public relations officer Fred Enanga. Enanga says that the dead are between 12 and 16. Yesterday and today they have managed to retrieve 7 bodies and the search for other bodies is still going on. In Rwanda, several experts and educators from across the continent are meeting in Kigali to discuss how to equip African youth with the necessary digital skills to compete on the global landscape. The meeting started Monday under the banner of the Partnership for Skills in Applied Sciences, Engineering and Technology, and has brought together officials from Rwanda, the World Bank and other experts from various parts of the world. You're still watching New Vision TV. We take a look at what's making headlines around the world. We start off with Africa. DR Congo, former Governor Moise Katumbi has returned home to his support base in Lubumbashi, the Democratic Republic of Congo's second biggest city. He was once thought to be a challenger to then President Joseph Kabila, but the two had a falling out, and Katumbi was convicted of property fraud. But now the owner of one of Africa's biggest football clubs is back with his supporters ready to welcome him home. In Ethiopia has started to ration electricity for domestic and industrial customers after a drop in water levels in hydroelectric dams led to a production deficit. The drop in water levels of the country's Jaib 3 dam had led to a deficit of 476 megawatts. Saleshi told a news conference more than a third of the country's electricity generation of 1,400 megawatts. Ethiopia has also suspended electricity exports to neighboring Djibouti and Sudan, which earns the country $82 million a year. News coming in from Sweden. The Swedish prosecutor heading an investigation into a rape allegation against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange filed a request with the local court Monday for him to be detained in absentia. If granted, the court order would be the first step in a process to have Assange extradited from Britain, where he's serving a 50-week sentence for skipping bail. Sweden reopened the rape investigation last week. It was begun in 2010 but dropped in 2017 after Assange took refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Assange, who denies the accusation, was arrested in London last month after spending 7 years inside the embassy. She said she would issue a European arrest warrant for Assange to be surrendered to Sweden if the court decided to detain him. Sweden's decision to reopen the rape investigation cast doubt on where Assange may eventually end up, with US authorities already seeking his extradition over conspiracy charges relating to one of the biggest ever leaks of classified information. In the USA, just days after saying he was prepared for talks, United States President Donald Trump has issued a direct threat to Iran, suggesting that the Islamic Republic be destroyed if it attacks his country's interests. The confrontational pause follows last week's attacks on Saudi oil assets and the firing of a rocket on Sunday into the heavily fortified green zone in Iraq's capital, Baghdad, an area housing many government buildings and embassies. The Iraqi military said there were no casualties in the rocket attack. There's been no claim of responsibility. Now, amid escalating tension with Iran, Washington earlier this month dispatched to the region an aircraft carrier and B-52 bombers, as well as an amphibious assault ship and a Patriot missile battery. News from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Energy Minister Khalid said Sunday there was consensus among OPEC and allied producers to drive down crude inventories gently, but his country would remain responsive to the needs of what he called a fragile market. Khalid said a possible rollover in the second half of 2019 of output curbs agreed by OPEC and non-members was the main option discussed at a ministerial panel meeting during the day, but things can change by June. OPEC, Russia, and other non-member producers, an alliance known as OPEC Plus, agreed to reduce output by 1.2 million barrels per day from January. Russian Energy Minister Alexander Novak earlier said an easing of cuts had been discussed and the supply situation would be clearer in a month, including the countries under sanctions. That was news around East Africa and news making headlines around the world. My name is Lynn Komdisha. I leave you with Ruth Nasije, taking a look at what's happening in today's pullouts.
Thank you, Lynn. Now a quick look at the news that is coming out tomorrow on Tuesday in the pullouts that come out every Tuesday. We have Her Vision. Her Vision says, menopause, take control before it ruins you. We also have My China AC Competitions. This comes out in the New Vision. It was launched on April 9th and will run for 21 weeks and is sponsored by the New Vision and the Chinese Embassy. Now, in Tuesday's edition, the winning SC is from Owen Museveni, who shares his experience working with Sino Hydro Corporation Limited, a Chinese company. Get that story from the My China SC competitions. And then we go to the Holiday Companion. This is basically for those who are having their holidays. And we have a reading series which says Headed for Crater Lakes. We also have What is the Role of the Member of Parliament? Do you know what your MP is supposed to do for you? Holiday Companion has the solution. Now let's take a look at what is making headlines in the sports news. Proline Football Club coach Shafiq Bisaso said keeping the team in the Star Times Uganda Premier will be his main priority next season. Bisaso unveiled his plan after the side beat Wakiso Giants 1-0 at Lugogo on Saturday to become the Star Times Futha Big League champions. Moving on, Sorority's Facebook team beat Tavern Kick from Masaka 2-0 in the final to win the inaugural Nile 5-5-a-side football tournament that ended at Lugogo on Saturday. The Teso region side got a trophy and 2 million shillings and a trip to Tanzania to represent Uganda at the Africa 5-a-side tournament, from where the winning team will earn an all-expense-paid European tour in the company of 2000 and 2002 Africa Cup of Nations winner Samuel E. Oto. Oto is a former footballer star from Cameroon. Some international sport, Uganda's Jacob Kiplimo easily won the Great Manchester Run on Sunday, earning $10,000, which is about 37 million shillings. Uganda's world cross-country silver medalist clocked 31 minutes to win the 10-kilometer race with almost no resistance. Eritrean Ayo Fanel was second in 28 and 24, followed by Spaniard Antonio Abadia in 28:39 minutes. Kenya's Helen Obiri won the women's race in 31:23 minutes. Now, the Great Manchester Run, established in 2003, is an annual 10-kilometer run through Greater Manchester and is the largest 10-kilometer race in Europe. You're still watching New Vision TV News with me, Ruthina Sejet. Let's take a look at our daily Pearl of Africa series, and today it is the River Nile. The Nile River, considered the longest in the world. The Nile has 2 major tributaries. The White Nile begins at Jinja in Uganda from Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa. Let's take a look.
The Nile River, considered the longest river in the world, is about 6,853 kilometers long. Flowing northward through the tropical climate of Eastern Africa and into the Mediterranean Sea, the river basin is in 11 countries: Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, South Sudan, Sudan, and Egypt. The Nile has 2 major tributaries: the longer White Nile and the Blue Nile, which carries about 2/3 of the river's water volume and most of the silt. The White Nile begins at Jinja in Uganda from Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa, which touches the countries of Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. The river is fed from many rivers coming in from the surrounding mountains and wetlands, including River Nzoia, Katonga, and Kagera. The Nile River is central to the ancient Egyptians' rise to wealth and power. The Nile River and its yearly flood waters offered the people a fertile oasis for rich agriculture. The Nile leaves Lake Victoria at Ripon Falls near Jinja in Uganda as the Victoria Nile. It flows north for 130 kilometers to Lake Choga and then turns westwards towards Lake Albert before continuing out of Lake Albert as Albert Nile. The river flows into South Sudan, just south of Nimule, where it is known as the Mountain River. Just south of the town, it has the confluence with the Achua River. Below Renk, the White Nile enters Sudan. It flows north to Khartoum and meets the Blue Nile. Below the Aswan High Dam, at the northern limit of Lake Nasser, the Nile resumes its historic course. North of Cairo, the Nile splits into two branches that feed the Mediterranean. The Rosetta branch to the west and the Damietta branch to the east, forming the Nile Delta. Europeans began to learn about the origins of the Nile in the 15th and 16th centuries when travelers to Ethiopia visited Lake Tana and the source of the Blue Nile. However, Lake Victoria was first sighted by Europeans in 1858 when the British explorer John Hannington Speke reached its southern shore while traveling with Richard Francis Burton to explore East Africa. With the basin covering 11 countries, the Nile's water has affected the politics of East Africa and the Horn of Africa for many decades. Countries including Uganda, Sudan, Ethiopia and Kenya have complained about Egyptian domination of its water resources. The Nile Basin Initiative promotes a peaceful cooperation among those states. The river is a source of livelihood of the desert Egypt and Sudan, while the falls on it generate electricity for the East African countries. Jinja has in recent years grown as a tourism city owing to many tourism activities along the Nile such as kayaking, bungee jumping, boat cruising and many others.
That is all I had for you. Get more Pearl of Africa stories by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.ug/Pearl of Africa. Our newspaper, The Sunday Vision, is also another home of adventures. Grab your copy every Sunday for Pearl of Africa stories. We now speak business in the Handshake with Lynn Komjishe.
Well, hello there. You're watching The Handshake here on New Vision TV. My name is Lynn Komjishe. I have with me Paul Bushalizi. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Paul, the State House Anti-Corruption Unit and the Ministry of Gender have partnered to crack down on some weird things going on in the Youth Livelihood Project. That said, I want us to take a quick break. A quick look at before the livelihood project started. What were your thoughts? Did you think it would really make sense? Was it set out to achieve anything, help the youth in any way?
Yeah, I think the design of the thing is supposed to be to give youth seed capital to start up their businesses and things like that. The intention, of course, is to enable them to be self-reliant, which is a very noble thought.
Yes.
But I always thought that the way the program was designed, it was bound to run into such problems. The gender ministry is not designed or does not have the capacity to lend money to youth, especially. And it was supposed to be a revolving fund.
Yes,
it lends money, then the money that they repay back, they put it back in the system. But they don't have that capacity. It's a specialized. It's a specialized. It's a specialized area. Banks lend money, and banks by the way, banks don't lend to startups, people who are starting up businesses, or even the youth for that matter.
Yeah.
So the Ministry of Gender was really taking on an ambitious program.
Where were they getting the money from?
Well, they seem to have convinced the Ministry of Finance that it was something that could be done, and they got the money from the Ministry of Finance.
How has it been doing?
Well, I saw a report, I think earlier this year or something, talking about they had recovery rates of about, I think it was somewhere between 50 and 70%, which in a bank would be a disaster, an absolute disaster. I mean, the banks have recovery rates of, right now, they've just issued their results, they have recovery rates of 95% on their loans. So it just shows you, okay, of course you can account, you need to factor in that the youth, unemployed youth are a high risk factor to begin with. Exactly. Absolutely. So maybe we should allow them more. But somebody else should have been doing the work. The Ministry of Finance should have given the money to somebody who is much more suited to this job. Not necessarily a ministry, but an organization that can do this more effectively, efficiently.
Now we realize that there are ghosts, there's a lot of fraud. Who is doing this? Is it the youth who are benefiting, or those who are giving out the...
Well, think of it this way. Ministries in Uganda get money and they fail to utilize the money.
Sure.
So imagine if you give a new program which was not there, it never existed before, you give it several tens or even hundreds of billions of shillings and tell them to finish it to go through it in 1 year. Things are bound to go wrong.
Absolutely.
So that's what's happened, really.
So, well, two people have...
So you haven't vetted the people who are carrying out the thing properly. You haven't even vetted the groups taking the money. I mean, people are just forming groups to go and take the money. Then when they get the money, they split among themselves and they disappear into thin air.
Two people have been arrested so far. And this is the joint operation that is going to go on. What will be the repercussions? Will they put a halt? Will this affect the revolving fund?
Well, the truth of the matter is that in an ideal world, it should have an output that is desirable. That you get more and more youth self-reliant, because that's a challenge. We're not creating. The economy is not creating enough jobs to absorb all the youth that are coming into the job market. That's the ideal situation. The way it's designed, it's not going to happen. And because of the political undertones to the thing, some people even think that they're just entitled to the money. They can take it and keep it.
Which is true, though.
No, it's not true.
Some people do.
Well, it's true that some people do that, but it's not true that they're entitled to the money. Yeah, so I think, in an ideal world, they should suspend the program, reevaluate it. They've done it for about 5 years or so. Reevaluate what has come out of it, and come back with a more robust system and plan. It has a good intention.
Oh yes.
But good intentions can be messed up by poor execution.
Absolutely.
They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So.
Now, so if they say, what happens to the people who have already taken the money?
No. They all have to pay. They all have to pay. Just because they suspend the program doesn't mean they stop paying. No way. They have to pay.
They have to pay.
Yeah.
And now that because we know there's a lot of fraud going on. So far, 2 people arrested. Is this good enough? Is this a good
No, of course,
start?
it's more than that's not even the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of people who should be, answer some very serious questions about this program. Its initiation, its execution.
You sound
everything.
like you know some people.
No, I think it's quite obvious. It's quite obvious. I mean, money is gone out, it doesn't come back in. You just look for the guys who sent it out and ask them what were they thinking.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lynn. That wraps up today's bulletin. Thank you for watching. Be sure to catch more news updates and other programs here on New Vision TV by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.ug/video. You can follow us on social media. Facebook is the New Vision, Twitter is @New Vision Wire, Instagram is @New Vision Wire, and our YouTube channel is New Vision TV. Catch up with me on my Twitter handle. I am Ruth, the Voice. Thank you for watching.